Woohoo! Alright, it's time to check out the new drones, the new module, and it will be time to see what the Dominix Navy is doing. I mean, this thing has been buffed in the recent update. I think drones are now the developers' favorites for some reason. But this thing, I mean, I bought the Dominix Navy because it was ridiculous when it comes to the DPS, and there was a special module teased for this specific ship. Well, we have received the specific module in question, although not only did the Dominix Navy get a new module, every striker and every other navy received the same thing. Actually, this was our good old siege mode on the strikers, built-in siege mode on the strikers and navies, but that's been removed, and now it is a separate module. I'm actually pretty fine with that. I'm all in for the modular ship design, and this is basically the siege mode. Has the same stats, now added with drones, and a new addition of fuel usage, 50 gigajoule per 10-second cycle. Not a big deal really. These things have a lot of fuel, so that's not really a big problem. Now this is my good old Dominix Navy. You cannot imagine how happy I was when I saw the fifth medium slot on this thing. But yeah, this is the thing that I usually use for PvP, and it will be time to see how this new module will affect it. Now it's the classic siege mode. You can expect the same siege mode stats. It will make your ship immobile. You will not be able to warp, a lot of stabs. It will decrease the tracking. It will increase the damage on your weapons. It will also increase the damage of your drones. So overall, good thing. Wait a moment. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, I was using this module. I just realized that I'm one of the few crazy pilots out there who did not even notice that they have a Federation Navy disruptor installed, which is kind of a rarity now. If you looked at some of the older PvP videos, I've actually used this module in this ship without even knowing it. But yeah, that's a 16 billion ISK module now because it's extremely rare. It no longer drops. It's a kind of a collectible, so yeah. Let me just double check if this is not a collectible. It's not. Okay, so I will change the Federation Navy Disruptor into the other one. Never knew that I had that module there. I never knew. Who knows how much other rarity items I have here in this station. I have a lot. Anyway, I got distracted. Let's see the DPS with the siege mode active. It does give a decent little boost. I mean, I kind of expected a totally different module, a specific module for the Navy, for the Dominix Navy. But you know what, I guess having the siege mode reworked like this works as well, so I am not going to complain about that. Since the Dominix didn't lose anything, it only gained 5.9 thousand DPS. Not bad at all, but we will be also checking out the new drones, which I have in store here. I saw Hurricane, and I also have some Sentries that I'll use as well. The offense one was really expensive, did not have enough ease for that, so I just had to go with the cheaper option, but you know, I think it's still going to deliver some interesting DPS. So let me put the first row of drones in the bay, and let me add the new drones. These are the drones available from the current event. At one point they will become very rare, I guess, because the event is limited, so once the event ends, maybe we will see the price skyrocket on these things, and that's when I will sell them. We will see what will happen with that. And let me just show you how the drones look, since they do have the unique model. They have the unique model, and yeah, they look nice. I'm actually a fan of the... I mean, the event's been nice, honestly. We have received an actual items, and so far I would say it's been okay. Can't really complain about the new drones that are actually decent. The fighters are also really decent, but unfortunately I am not going to have the chance to test that out anymore for a lot of different reasons. I mean, maybe I'll be able to talk about that at one point, but yeah, unfortunately we'll not be able to test out that, at least not at the moment. Now, let's check out the Sentries, which are also quite interesting. My apologies. Not the sentries. We are still on the 5.5 thousand DPS on the new large drones, and now let's fit the sentries. They should give a bit more DPS, but the tracking on the sentries is really bad. The sentries don't really have any tracking. They're stationary, they're sniping drones. 6.4 thousand DPS, actually decent. Now the current nanocore is a nanocore that I found laying around, and I did not even know I had it, so I just equipped it, plus 18% drone DPS. So it doesn't give much, but better than the previous nanocore, and the DPS value is decent. Of course, this is without the bombard. And bombard tactic is a very nasty implant, and yeah, you can expect the bombard to absolutely wreck anything that I'm shooting at with this ship. So let's take this thing for a ride and let's see how the drones perform. Let's see how that siege module works. Mode and module.
Warp drive active.
Will take a while for me to get used to that. And yes, you can expect to see the same rework done on the logistic cruisers, battle cruisers. You can expect the same thing to be done on the sniper cruiser, on the guardians as well. I think we will see a special module for every single ship type, and I'm okay with that. Will allow us for some very interesting builds, especially if let's say the sniper cruisers get +1 medium slot. That's going to be pretty epic. Would be very nice to have more cruisers with 4 or 5 medium slots. So yeah, definitely exciting time ahead. Now, I've already seen comments and some people talking how the navies and strikers are overpowered now, because now they have like 5 medium slots. But the thing that people don't understand, or they don't get, is that one slot is specified for the siege mode. And a striker or a navy, let's say if the striker or navy is doing PvE, they will definitely use the siege mode because it gives them extra DPS. And whoever is running high-sec islands and stuff like that, they are all for that top DPS. And they will definitely not going to skip on some extra DPS on their ship. So all of the PvE ships will have the siege mode because most of them aim for extra DPS. If it doesn't have a siege mode, if it has a 5th slot for a web, for example, 3-4 webs, that's not a big deal, since that ship is not going to have a lot of DPS. And if you have a decently built ship, you can tank that, which honestly is not a big deal. You can easily tank a non-sieged battleship. I've done it with a cruiser. I'm very sure speed tanking can work as well. I mean, a webbed battleship is going to be much slower than a webbed cruiser, so you can still speed tank those. I mean, I've done a speed tank with the slowest cruiser in the game, Stratus. Just a 0 km orbit, 3 webs and a scrambler, and a battleship is not going to be able to track you unless you mess up, and if you mess up, that's a skill issue. But yeah, does it really change anything on a big scale? Well, not really. It just makes the module more modular, I guess. It just makes the ships a bit more interesting, and I guess they are definitely slowly changing the whole... It does feel like they're changing the whole mechanic of the game, one by one bit by one bit. We see modules, or should I say special modes, become modules. We see the addition of extra medium slots. We see the addition of utility slots on some ships. We can expect to see more of that. You can also expect to see more modules becoming utility slot module. That's also a thing that it is... At this moment, I think it's literally guaranteed that it will happen. It's just a matter of when, not if anymore. But yeah, I do like how the sentries work so far. They also have a unique design. I did look at the Pulsar sentry, that they look nice. I am personally not a big fan of sentries because it requires your ship to be stationary and not moving, in most cases of course, and that makes you a vulnerable target in low sec and in null sec. I usually just prefer to use the large drones or medium drones on my battleships. because they allow you to actually move, and they have, you know, better tracking and stuff like that. In most cases, I guess I would prefer the normal drones, but sentries are also very nice, and these sentries here are actually really good. I'm fairly sure my DPS will be a lot higher if I use the offense pulsar sentries. And by the way, the new drones do have omni damage like missiles, so they will ignore the yellow hardener, and that makes them very interesting. I might actually continue using the normal large drones, the new large drones of the event on this ship for PvP, since it allows me to actually avoid the reactive hardeners, which is the reason why I actually use a bunch of different drones on this ship. So that's interesting. We'll have to test it out. Hopefully I do get something to shoot at with the Dominix Navy. I'm fairly sure it's gonna be pretty funny to see how that will go. But honestly, it does seem to work really well. This ship's been improved, DPS has been improved. I guess the weight has been paid off, I would say. It does give a decent DPS boost. Is it ridiculous? Well, I mean, I think the only thing that makes the Dominix Navy absolutely ridiculous are the implants, I think. The bomber tactic is what's going to make this boat a little bit more scary than the other navies. Especially if you have a high level bombard like I do, you definitely will want to take advantage of that, because the ship slaps. Okay, this little boat slaps. And bombard tactic is still ridiculous. It's the only implant that hasn't been changed at all since the launch of implants. There's been one little change, and that was they buffed it actually. They only buffed it. They only reduced, I think, the reload. But ever since the release, this is still the only implant that's about the same. Not about, but exactly the same as on its release. Every other implant has been tweaked in one or the other way. Of course, you cannot work with the siege mode active, you have to turn it off. Thankfully, the cycle time of the siege mode isn't that bad. 10 seconds, so you don't really have to wait a lot. Used to be 2 minutes back in the day on the ordinary striker, and you used to be able to get caught very easily if you mess up the siege mode. Even the carriers also had the same thing, the dreadnoughts as well. And that made these ships a bit more tricky to use, especially if you get caught in the cooldown, and that's why the scouts and camera eyes that are out there were so important. Nowadays it's much easier to just warp out and to turn off the special mode, since it became a module. Same thing on the dreadnoughts, same thing on the carriers, super carriers, same thing on the navies and strikers, which I'm okay with. I know when I used to fly a carrier in Nullsec for PvE, I used to have a scout. My own alt was actually looking out a couple of systems. It was set up in such a way that if I mess up, I have enough time to turn off siege, or should I say not siege, but to turn off the networking mode, and I had enough time to, even if I mess up, I have enough time to dock safely. So timing is very important. Well, it used to be important. Nowadays, with the new changes and stuff, it's much easier to fly these ships. So let's play around with the ordinary light. Yeah, very weird light drones indeed. Time to see how the new large drones perform. I was actually worried that the tracking would be significantly impacted by the siege mode for the drones. Apparently it doesn't do much tracking wise, doesn't seem to affect it a lot. I'm still able to yeet small ships quite easily. Of course, for smaller ships in PvP you definitely need to have light and medium drones. Never undock without proper drones for every single possible situation. Always carry a lot of bees in the beehive, because you never know when you will need them. I have a lot of beehives in this ship, so I'm always prepared. But yeah, seems the siege mode for this ship seems to be working really well. I mean, I cannot complain so far. It slaps, it has good tracking, and it has some very decent DPS, much better from the previous Dominix Navy test that I've done. And overall, if you are using drones like I am as your primary weapon system, you definitely want this ship. Now, the question is, Dominix Navy or Rattlesnake? I think at this moment I'm pulling out the Dominix Navy in any case. It might be a bit more expensive, it might be a bit more heavy on the skills, since this ship does take advantage of expert skills, unlike the Rattlesnake, who uses advanced skills and only has a bonus on large drones. But with Nanocore, with the siege mode now, and with everything else that goes along with the Dominix Space Potato boat here, yeah, the ship is now definitely outperforming the Rattlesnake big time. Outperformed it before. I mean, it was already confirmed that the Dominix Navy is currently the best drone boat in the game. Even outperforming the Nestor when it comes to drone DPS, and now with the siege mode, the DPS went up even more. So I think at this moment it is kind of hard to. I mean, I guess the Rattlesnake is still usable. It's still a good ship, since it's not exactly fair to compare them directly. Every ship has its own thing, as I always say. But the Rattlesnake is cheaper and definitely much more affordable than this thing. So if you're tight on a budget, well, I guess the Rattlesnake is still going to be a very good ship. The only downside is you will be stuck with large drones only, while on the Nestor, for example, on the Dominix Navy and other drone modes, you have the option to use any drone type there is, since you have a skill bonus for all drones. That's pretty good, and that's why I actually prefer the Dominix, the Nestor and the other drone modes over the Rattlesnake, because with the Rattlesnake you can actually encounter problems with smaller ships. Of course, the implants and stuff like that nowadays does reduce the problem, but still, much easier to get a Dominix and similar ships to work against smaller ships than to get a Rattlesnake to do the same thing. Does it mean that one ship is better than the other? No, it just means that one ship is better in some certain situations than the other, which doesn't make one ship better than the other in the grand scale of things. And that's one thing that players really need to understand, because there's going to be a nuclear war, I'm telling you, when it comes to the Dominix versus Rattlesnake. That's going to cause a debate. I can already sense that. Just how the siege mode caused a debate whether it made the 5th slot on the Navy overpowered. I still find that very funny, because who doesn't fit a siege mode on their striker is missing out on a lot. That's simply how it is, and it will be more. I mean, you will probably notice the argument before this video is even up. So yeah, it's funny. There's going to be even more silliness up ahead, I'm fairly sure. But it's been let me tell you, it's been funny to read the official Discord today. I facepalmed like 50 times reading it, maybe 51 after I finished recording this video, who knows. But yeah, it is quite literally very funny to see the reactions of the 5th medium slot. I mean, the Balgon has a 5 slots, for example. Does that make the Balgon overpowered? Not really. The Balgon kinda sucks, quite literally, nowadays. So same thing can be said about the navies. I mean, it's just a battleship with 5 medium slots, and that's a good thing that it has 5 medium slots, because you have a extra siege mode now, which you can use. But yeah, honestly, as I mentioned before 10,000 times today, I'm very happy with this update. Actually happy with the Dominix Navy, and I cannot wait to drop this thing on something. It's going to be very funny to see a battleship vanish in 3.8 seconds. I think like 4 seconds was my record. This is going to be 3.8, maybe less. But yeah, that's how much it takes me on average to pop a battleship with the maximum with the drone boat that I have on this, with the current drones and implant, that is. But yeah, Do tell me what you think about the Dominix Navy now. I mean, I'm definitely all in drones as of the last couple months. Definitely all in drones. I think I maxed out every single drone related skill there is. Only skills that I'm missing are the new skills that need to be purchased on the market for a very high price, or to open them from that box, that weird box that I have a bunch of them but I never really use them. Because I don't really need them at the moment, but yeah, it is it is funny how I went a full circle weapon system wise. Started with drones, went all the way through every single weapon system in the game, and returned to drones at this moment. So yeah, what goes around comes around, or whatever the saying goes. In the end, does make sense. But yeah, that was the Dominix Navy buffed version with the new drones. Very happy with this thing. Tell me what you think about this monstrosity of a ship. It is such a fun ship to fly. I love it, and I'm actually glad that they made ships a bit more unique with the recent update. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. And as always, I'll see you next time.